Welcome to another episode of Pathway to Purpose, brought to you by Habit Finder. If you want to understand your brain pathways and habits of thinking and understand what's driving you, what's holding you back, the things that are keeping you stuck, um, sign up for a free assessment on it scientifically measures your habits of thinking, the things that may be working against you or working for you, and really unlocking those gifts that you have towards your habits of thinking. And one of the things that you'll learn too is to master your thinking and put down the habits that are sabotaging you and pick up the ones that you're underutilizing and learn to move forward. So reach out to me in the show notes, Facebook Messenger, Instagram. Reach out for that. And thank you for joining the podcast today. The title I wanted to talk about is your thinking keeping you from having joy and purpose in your life? It was recently brought to my attention. Somebody had mentioned, hey, you're doing X, Y, and Z. You're working here, you're doing this, you're a podcast, all these things. Are you enjoying the journey? I think a lot of us, myself included, were caught up at the end game, right? It took me having a medical issue, a brain tumor, to really start to look at how I was living my life, the challenges. I was like, oh my God, what does this brain tumor here teach me? Which is a question I would have never asked myself. So I was super pleased and happy that that question came to my mind instead of some of the other more challenging questions for sure. So, but when I looked at it, I started to realize, like, oh my God, this is how I'm living my life. And it was brought to my attention. I'm a nurse. That a client that I had mentioned that he worked hard his whole entire life, and that he got ill later in life, or he developed a medical condition, and he's like, oh my God, this is what I have to look forward to. This is what I have. So, one of the things that I was really passionate about is looking at the joy in our journey, even in the work we do. We're a fast-paced society. There's work that we do. We may not like our job, but one of the things that I think is great is learning how to use our mind, our mindset, and our habits of thinking to be the best at whatever that is. Start to look at the gratitude in the job. Um, I remember I just recently started a role, and it's been a year, and I'm starting to see the gifts that I enjoy in it. When I first started, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot, this is hard, or I'm burned out, I'm stressed, all of those things. But I started to ask myself, like, what do I like about this? What are some of the things that I could be better at? Let me be the best at doing what I do. And it doesn't have to be this dramatic job. Like, you could work at a coffee shop. You could work anywhere and still enjoy people and doing that. So I'm going to go through a couple things that I wanted to share. And one of the things I really wanted to share is, the habits of thinking that really came to my mind, and certain things that had come up, are there's no shortcuts. Like, we live in this fast-paced world. Give me, give me, give me. I need it now. I need to be successful now. I need all these likes, all this stuff, right? But really, there's no shortcuts. We need to take our time. There's no quick fixes. And one of the things that I've been helping others and really working on is looking at some of these patterns that crop up and starting to heal them rather than kind of cut them out, or they're bad. I need to remove this. I need to stop doing this. But these things have served you in so many ways before that you may not be looking at. So, one of the things that I really wanted to share was just slow down, breathe, be open and curious. What does this mean? Ask yourself questions and start to unlock that the learning mindset rather than having more of a fixed mindset. Carolyn Dweck talks about it in her book, having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So I really encourage you to take a peek at that. And this multitasking mentality that we have, like, we used to, like, it was a badge of honor to be a multitasker. In reality, there's scientific data that proves that multitasking is ineffective. It doesn't work. It causes more mistakes, causes things to take longer. And that's why there's been a lot of research about it, also too, about decisions, right? Making too many decisions. There's such thing as decision fatigue. You make a lot more, you make more clear decisions in the morning, and as the day goes on, our decision maker or decision fatigue creeps in. So that's one thing that I started to really, really look at. The other thing too, that one of the things that really kind of ruins our joy, and it really took me a little bit. It took a coach to point that out to me, and I cannot stress enough having a coach. Aside from having a mirror, we would need somebody to tell us what our eye color is, because we can't see our own eye color. Um, now that we have mirrors, obviously we could see them, but having a coach to really kind of look at where we may be missing something, or where we're not quite seeing so clearly. There's some blind spots. But it took a coach to help me understand that I had this, like, perfectionistic view, like things needed to be perfect or right. And what does that do? I call it the recovering perfection syndrome, right? How does it show up in your life? Does it need to be a certain way? Are you afraid to do certain things because it's not going to come out correctly? Do you not even start some of the dreams that you had, some of the goals that you had or have? Are you not doing them because you don't feel like you're ready, or things are not quite perfect? I tell, I share with people, like, do it ugly, just do it, and get better. You could just get better and improve. Even doing these podcasts, it's taken me some time, but I just did it. I said, I'm going to do it. And so, what areas of your life do you see perfection showing up? And how is it showing up? What does it look like? And what would it be like if you just took some action? Because one of the big destroyers or killers of our joy is having this perfectionistic, which leads to this other kind of thought or habit that we do, is comparison. Have you ever compared your insides to somebody else's outsides? It's just like social media. Everybody's putting all this happy, positive stuff on social media, but do we really know, like, that they may be struggling, that they're having a hard time, that there's a lot of struggles, and they're going through a lot? But what we do is we have a tendency to judge ourselves based on what we think others others are experiencing, or other people seem happy, or why am I not happy, or just looking at others and being like, I want that, and why can't I get that, and what's my problem? And all these things start to play out, and these habits take us down into this loop that causes us and can create us to feel stuck, and it creates a habit of thinking. The great thing about this is these habits can be changed, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. The final thing I wanted to really share on is, are you taking time? Are you slowing down to take time for yourself? A barometer of how you're doing in your world is the element or the amount of self care. Now, what is self care? It's caring for ourselves. We're taking care of ourselves. And that could show up in many ways. For me, it's working out and exercising. I try to make a daily habit of running, or doing something on the elliptical, or doing something on that. It's doing mindfulness practice, meditation, taking time to spend time with your family, your kids, going on a vacation, really shutting down, doing things that allow your brain to rest. And those are some of the things that you could do, and do an inventory. I encourage you to do an inventory on what your self-care has been like. Look over the last week, 2 weeks, even month, if you have it. Say, "Hey, what does my self-care look like?" And there is a strong correlation, and I've had many coaches, because I'm a big fan of having coaches that have said their first question, "What's your self-care like?" And there's this correlation between our self-care and our level of joy, satisfaction, and how we are doing in our life. So, another form is eating well. I like to eat well, take care of myself. Those are some things that are important. If we're not taking care of ourselves, what does that look like? How does that show up? We're too busy. We're giving too much to others at the expense of ourselves. Um, we're not allowing our intuition, our true selves, our purpose, all of that stuff. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but did you ever go away on an amazing vacation, right? And you just kind of relax, de-stress, decharge, and all these ideas and things that you wanted to do or inspiration started to come as you started to slow down. Like that is so critical. That is so critical. So take a listen to this again. Do a little inventory. Start to understand that you have these habits of thinking that may be getting in the way. Do you feel stuck? Is there like, have you read X amount of self help books or subscribe to all these programs and A, you didn't finish it, or you finished it, but you didn't implement it and you're trying to figure out what's next? Well, reach out in the link below. Reach out to me, send a message, and take the scientific assessment that really measures your habits of thinking. It really shows where you run the risk of going in different areas. It's super powerful and amazing. So reach out below. But take a listen to this again. Do an inventory of yourself. Really start to look at where your life is. What does bring joy? What has robbed you of joy? Oftentimes we look at joy in the journey. We've been working so hard, we've gotten beat up and burned down and all of those things, and burned out and burned up, and we start to get discouraged, and that joy just isn't there anymore. But the good news is it could come back. It could come back. So have an awesome day. Thank you so much for tuning in.